So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going through my personal transition that I took within my agency right around a year and a half ago at this point, or maybe a year ago at this point, I don't know exactly when. And it was the transition that I made from the real estate niche within my agency into the e-commerce niche. Now in this video, as I said, I'm going to detail that transition and how I did it and really what I would recommend you to do if you were to make that transition. And I'm also going to cover whether you should transition into the e-commerce niche, and if you should, how do you go about it in the best possible way. Now, just before we jump into the video, as always, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. Massively helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And with that being said, let's jump straight into the video. So as I mentioned, a little over a year ago at this point, it's between a year and a half, I made the transition from the real estate niche within my social media marketing agency, and I transitioned into the e-commerce niche. Now, first things first, why did I make the transition? Well, the main reason was because I just wasn't happy in the real estate niche, right? I thought originally when I was in the real estate niche, I thought that it was the business model that that we're in. I thought it was that. I thought that was the reason, and I just didn't feel fulfilled, right? I didn't like working with real estate agents. Now, nothing against real estate agents. It was just because of their business model in that it was local lead gen, right? I just didn't like it. I didn't like doing the service delivery in terms of, generating leads and then passing them over and then letting the realtors or the real estate agents, close them. And I just didn't like it. And I really didn't feel fulfilled because I thought, I thought it was the business model originally, because I didn't realize that it was, the niche, different niches will provide different, experiences and whatnot. And so given that, I genuinely was thinking about quitting social media marketing. I genuinely was thinking about quitting my agency. And it was only at that point that I started to realize that obviously different niches are going to be different in terms of, the experience and how things are operating and whatnot. And I realized that, way back when I did start out in drop shipping and whatnot, I didn't have any traction in drop shipping, but it was kind of the first thing that got me into this whole online marketing world and whatnot. And so I knew I liked e-commerce, but because of all these big people that I used to listen to and whatnot, they were just saying, don't get into the e-commerce niche. You don't want to get into it when you're just starting out, or if you don't have too much experience. And back then I thought that I didn't have too much experience, which really I didn't. And so I kind of had this wall up about going into the e-commerce niche. I kind of disregarded the e-commerce niche as a whole because of what all these people were saying, that you shouldn't go into it, you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z in it. And it was really at that point where it was either I try the e-commerce niche or I stop SMMA, because as I say, I just wasn't happy in the real estate niche. And so with that kind of ultimatum, it's like, well, if I don't go into the e-commerce niche or at least try it, then I'm dropping out, I'm quitting SMMA. So I thought, at that point there was nothing left for me to lose. And so I made the transition. And at the time, I think I had around 2 or 3 real estate clients, and this is what I want to get into in the back half of this video in terms of how you can make that transition, whether it's from the real estate. Really guys, this video is going through how to make an effective transition from any niche into the e-commerce niche. But obviously in my experience, it was the real estate niche, which is why I'm saying about it. But if you're in the dental niche, you want to transition to the e-com niche, this video will still help you out. So as I say, I had around 3 clients at the time for the real estate niche, and obviously that was providing me monthly income. And so really the first kind of quote unquote, tip, if you want to call it that I would 100% say is that no matter what niche you're in right now, don't just drop the clients. Don't go, from having a couple clients to literally 0 clients and then try and rebuild your agency. Don't do that. There's no point, because you're still making money. You may as well take the money, right? As long as you generating them good results and whatnot. So that's the first thing. What you want to do is you want to go more about fading in and fading out, right? You fade in, you fade this out, and then that's how you make that transition from whatever niche you're in right now to the e-commerce niche. What I mean by that is, for my example, I had 3 real estate clients. And so as I say, I wasn't happy with them, but it was still providing me a monthly income. So what I did was those 3 clients I kept. And then from that point onwards, when I made that, the transition in my head that, right, this is it, e-com now, I only reached out to e-commerce brands. I only took action in the e-commerce niche. And so these 3 clients still stayed with me for quite a while after. I think it was around 2-3 months after, because I was still generating them good results, but I just never reached out to any more real estate clients. So obviously I never brought any more on board. And then what happened is those 3 real estate clients, 2 or 3 real estate clients fizzled out. But by that point, I already had brought on 3, 4, 5, 6 e-commerce clients. And so once they dropped off, it wasn't too big of a deal because I already had 6 e-com clients. And then that's how I got like my start in the e-commerce niche. That's how I made that transition as seamless as possible. Because look, at the end of the day, running any type of business, cash flow is king, right? As the saying goes, cash flow is king. It's super important. So if you've got a cash flow from your current niche, but you're just not happy in there, maintain that cash flow. But now all actions that you take each and every day is not in that niche. It's in the niche that you want to go into. And as I'm sure you guys can guess, I recommend every single person in the SMMA space goes into the e-commerce niche. It is honestly by far the best niche. And if you don't believe me, click the first link in the description. It's going to take you to the enroll now page for my program, the Quantum Leap Ecomm Agency program. And this isn't a sales tactic to enroll into the program or anything of that nature. I'm just saying I've got a free module on that page which really walks you through why the e-commerce niche is the best. And I highly doubt after you finish watching that you'll have any negative thoughts in regards to the e-com niche. It's honestly the best, which, as I mentioned, is why I made the transition. Now, what I also want to touch on in this video is whether you should go into the e-commerce niche if you're just starting out or if you've not got too much experience. This question is probably one of the most common questions that I get asked in conjunction with how do you get e-commerce clients. Now, if you want to know and understand how I personally signed my very first 7 e-commerce clients, when I made this transition that I'm talking about, the first 7 clients that I signed in the e-commerce niche after me making that transition, I've detailed that below in the second link in the description. Apologize for keep hyping up the description, but the second link in the description is going to take you to a free training, and within that free training I detail exactly how I signed my first 7 e-commerce clients with no experience, no previous case studies or anything of that nature. So make sure you go ahead and watch that as well after this video. But as I mentioned, they're the 2 most common questions that I get asked. Should I go into the e-commerce niche with no experience, and how do I get clients? And in this video I want to answer that former question of should you go into the e-commerce niche with no experience, because a lot of people say you shouldn't. And as I say, I kind of listened to that before I made the transition. But one thing that was very, very evident to me after I signed probably my 3rd e-com client, it was very evident to me that it's no different to any other niche, okay? It's no different to any other niche. Every niche is hard to get into if you don't know what you're doing, right? For you now, maybe you're in the restaurant niche, or maybe you're in the e-commerce niche. If you were now to try and go into the gym niche, for example, it's going to be hard when you start out. For me personally, if I was to now go into the gym niche, it would probably be quite hard for me to get gym clients, right? Because I don't know, best practices. I don't know the proven methods of getting clients. I don't really, service delivery is a different monster. I want to touch on that here in a minute as well. But as I say, to get physical clients, I honestly wouldn't really know because I'm not in it. I don't know the best practices. And the same goes for anybody who isn't in the e-commerce niche right now, but wants to get into it. Yeah, it's going to be hard because it's a new niche. But once you figure out, proven strategies that work time and time again, once you understand the nature of the niche, you understand, e-commerce owners' pain points, what makes their blood boil. Once you know those pain points and you can, then you can start to obviously hit on those pain points within your outreach. And that outreach is based on proven methods and whatnot. It's really not that hard. And that's the main thing that I want to get across in this video. Any niche is going to be hard when you're just starting out and you kind of don't know, as I say, what works and what doesn't. But once you understand it, any niche is easy, and there's no difference for the e-commerce niche. Now, probably a question that's going to be arising within you now is, yeah, okay, getting clients, maybe not that hard, but what about service delivery? Now, I will be very transparent with you. Service delivery in the e-commerce niche is much harder, okay, than, a local lead gen niche. And so if you don't have any prior experience, it may seem really confusing, really complex, really just overall challenging, right? But here's the thing, right? You guys know on this channel that I always speak about building a team. Building a team is the most important thing, because what we're doing, building an agency, is building a real long-term business. We're not creating something that's going to provide us with a quick buck or anything of that nature. No, we're building a real long-term business. And so because of that, and because we're building a team, you can just bring experts on who know how to deliver results for e-commerce brands. They know the best practices. They know how to routinely generate really good results for e-commerce brands. You can bring them on as a team member. You pay them a portion of your client retainer, and your service delivery at that point is down pat, right? And so obviously for those of you in the Quantum Agency program, I give you everything in regards to service delivery. I really just detail step by step exactly how myself and the team at Bax Consulting generate our clients just unmatched results routinely. And so once you go through that training, that will literally take you from a complete beginner to basically an expert. I lay everything out on the table that we personally do. And I'm also routinely updating that program, and especially the service delivery week, because things do change. So you're always up to date. And so if you're in the program, you know how to deliver results for e-commerce brands. And so you can leverage that in your outreach as well and in your sales calls and whatnot. But as I say, main point, if you're a complete beginner, you have no idea about how to deliver results for e-commerce brands, it's completely fine. Just bring an expert on board and they can then be the team member, and they can kind of, you know, in the conversations where it is in regards to delivering results or whatever, they can come in and they can take over because they're an expert in that field. And you can kind of just sit back for a minute, let them do the speaking, and then you can kind of take back over and whatnot. That's how you get your start in the e-commerce niche. And really, once you start to get your first client, second client, third client, etc., you'll slowly learn the ropes. You'll slowly understand and know and figure out what is the best practices for the e-commerce niche in terms of, you know, obviously outreach as well as service delivery, etc., etc. So if there's one thing that you take away from this video, it's that you should make the transition into the e-commerce niche, no matter what your expertise is, whether you're an expert or whether you're a complete beginner. You've never ever dipped your toe into this realm. Doesn't matter. You honestly ought to be in the e-commerce niche. And as I mentioned before, if you don't believe me, click the first link in the description. It's going to take you to the enrollment page for the Quantum Leap Ecomm Agency program, which, as I say, I'm not selling that program to you in any way, shape or form. But what I do want you to do is click that link and watch the module that's on that page. Just scroll down slightly, you'll see the module. It's pulled directly out of the program and I've just embedded it on that page for anybody to watch. And as I say, within that module, I really just show you and break down why the e-commerce niche is the best niche in SMMA. And really, in full transparency, if you're in any other niche within your agency, you're kind of being irresponsible because you're not being a smart business owner, which is obviously what everybody who's watching this video is striving to be. If you're striving to be a business owner, you're kind of being irresponsible if you're not in the e-commerce niche. And as I say, click that first link, watch that module, because that will show you exactly why. So guys, I hope this kind of story time / informational video on how to transition from really any niche, specifically the real estate niche, but any niche, into the e-commerce niche, how to make that transition as seamless as possible, and also why you have to be in the e-commerce niche as an agency owner. So with that being said, as I mentioned, if you did find value in this video, go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.